All right, everybody. We're live. We're back. Oh, shoot. Okay. Hope that's good.
Don't drop it on your fingers there.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to This Week in Real Estate. Trent Denson here, filling in for Jonathan Harmon. Got a super special guest with us, Art Kelly in the building. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man.
Awesome. So we got to talk about, you got some cool stuff going, man.
Yeah.
You're doing some big things. All things FriendMaker, all things in the real estate game that you're constantly doing, man. So let's just get into it. I was gonna I got the one-man production crew in the building today, so y'all bear with us. But
He's doing a great job.
hey, we're trying. But yeah, man, give the people just a quick overview of who you are, your backstory, and then we'll kind of get into some of the stuff you're doing here lately.
Well, my name's Art Kelly.
Yep.
I am I guess first and foremost, I am Rebecca Kelly's husband.
That's a very smart way of framing that.
That's the best way to start. And it's funny, before I got into real estate, everybody knew who my wife was. A lot of people knew who my wife was in this area because she's a photographer.
Okay.
And so she's got a pretty thriving, loyal audience, people, or client base.
Right.
And so married to Rebecca, going on 26 years this year.
Congratulations.
And I got 4 kids, my 2 boys, Caleb and Cole. Caleb's 20, Cole's 18. Ella and Lucy, my daughters, are 15 and 12. Wow. And, man, I moved to Murfreesboro 23 years ago. I worked at a nonprofit here in town. And,
Okay.
Did that for a couple of years and then just kind of didn't work out. And so, I had some other things that happened in life. And I was a jack of all trades, master of none for a solid 15 years,
Feel that, man. Feel a little attacked already.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I was like, when I was about 40, my wife and I had kind of a come to Jesus conversation, and it was kind of like, what are you going to do when you grow up?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm already kind of grown up, right?
Right.
And, so I honestly, I have a big heart for people. I've always loved meeting new people. It's just kind of part of my personality.
Yep.
And at the time, 7-8 years ago, I saw all these people moving to Middle Tennessee. My wife's photography clients, a lot of her folks were coming from California. And so she just kept having client after client come in and book her for pictures. They were from California or Michigan or New York or something like that. And I was like, that's interesting, all these people moving here. And we had talked for a little bit about me getting into real estate. And I was like, I don't really know if that's me, if I want to do that. And so I went through the process, got my license, and that was fun.
Yeah, I've done that too.
That's a lie. It's not fun at all, right? It's
not fun at all. No.
But you go through, you get your stuff, do the schooling and whatever, get your license, take the test. And I remember hitting the button on the test the day of, and it was like a Hail Mary. Man,
Same.
I was just like, I have no idea if I answered any
I'll be
of
honest,
these things
I didn't
correctly.
feel great about it.
I didn't either. And so I'm like,
funny.
okay, at least they thought I was competent enough to give me a license.
Yeah,
So,
right. Glad I don't have to do that again.
Oh my gosh! So I keep my license so I don't ever have to do that
Exactly.
again.
No, I feel you there.
But man,
hilarious.
I got into the business in 2016.
Okay.
First year in the business, did not sell a house. I was working full time in the school system. And
you were working in the school, like teacher or what?
I was an educational assistant, so I worked alongside of teachers.
Okay, all right.
My wife was a full-time photographer,
Right.
And we were just kind of in this really interesting space.
Yeah.
I had done all kind of stuff, man. Like I worked at Nissan for 5 years on the night shift. I was a roofing contractor for a while. I worked for a vending machine company for a little while.
Really? Okay.
Bread company, delivering bread. I would do everything,
Okay.
and I got into the school system because I thought I was going to get back into the nonprofit world. And I was trying to get myself open time in the evenings.
Okay.
So being off at school at 2 or 3 o'clock every afternoon made sense to me at the time. That still didn't just kind of gel for me. And so I started looking at real estate, got into real estate. First year, man, I'm working a full-time job in the school and I just don't know what I'm doing. I tell everybody, I actually mentioned this in the book, but I feel like somebody handed me a pile of Legos and they showed me a picture of the Millennium Falcon, and they did not give me that little book that shows you step 1, 2, 3,
Right.
And so that's my story. When I got into real estate, I had all the good pieces of what I knew a real estate agent needed to do and be.
Right.
And I saw pictures, or I knew people who were what I would have considered successful real estate agents.
Some great Millennium
But
Falcons out there.
There you go. But I had no idea. Like there was
there,
not like there was just like a whole bunch of information, and I was overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so funny story. I met Jonathan Harmon.
Hey, I've heard of that guy.
I had changed my my Instagram name. To the bearded realtor.
Okay.
Because I was like, I guess you have to have a gimmick.
Sure.
Something like that. And like maybe a couple months before the orientation that I went to this orientation, and Jonathan was teaching, and I really liked the way he talked about his business.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through the thing, we took a lunch break or whatever, and I'm just sitting there, and Jonathan comes over to me and goes, "Hey, you're the bearded realtor." And I was like,
"It's working."
I was like, "What?" Social media works.
Right?
Who knows?
I love that.
And so that was a confirmation for me, at least, that one person had seen.
Right. We got one.
So like, hey,
No,
the trainer, he saw that, and
Nice.
But I called him a couple months later because I was frustrated because I wasn't making any money. I wasn't selling home. I didn't know what I was doing, and he was the outgoing broker at the Weichert Realtors at the time. Here in Murfreesboro, there was another guy, Chris Garrett, who was the oncoming broker there, and these guys were two different human beings. I mean, very different personalities. They ran their businesses completely different, but they were both very successful in their business. And I got to be in that space with these two guys, learning from both of them when I started my business.
Nice.
It was so good, man. Like, and the office was very small. There weren't a whole lot of agents in there at the time, and so that became kind of the learning ground for me, the training ground.
That's a good place to be.
Oh,
learning.
I mean, they had open houses left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Both these guys do, multiple homes a year. And anyway, so I got to do a bunch of just open houses and kind of learn. And my first listing I got off of Jonathan had an open house.
Nice.
And I knocked on doors in the neighborhood, and I got this listing off of that. And it was on Ellis Street, which was the name of my daughter.
I love it.
Which was my first listing and my first sale. I got fired from the school right before that. My wife fell and had a major accident, broke her arm, her shoulder, her knee, and her hip. Wow. Yeah, like it was a photography accident. This is like May of 2017.
She got hurt doing photography?
Yeah, right, yeah, it's full contact sport, man. That. So she was taking pictures on a stool. Of some friends for like an engagement session they were doing, and the stool fell over, and she fell and broke her arm. Ouch. So she breaks her arm. Like, we're about broke, and I'm trying to get business and start this business thing, and I've already spent, I don't know, $3 or $4 grand just trying to get into real estate. Wasted an entire year not actually selling anything, and then I get fired on the last day of school. Wow. But I had this listing that closed like 2 weeks later. Whew. And then it just kind of became this thing where it was like my mentality was, it's not sink or swim, it's swim or fly. Those are my options.
That.
You know what I mean?
Great.
We can't sink. I got to make this work.
Yeah, I feel that.
So that's kind of how it all started for me, and that's my connection with you guys.
That's awesome, man. I didn't know that. I knew y'all went back, and y'all. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't know that whole story.
Jonathan's great. He taught me a lot of the stuff, how to do this business.
He's a legend.
I appreciate him.
Very, very grateful for that guy as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So, what's going on in current life? I know you got a lot of things. Wrote the book. Let's get into that, and we'll just tell people where you are real estate wise. Let's talk a little bit about the current market, then we'll get into FriendMaker if that's cool. So,
sure.
First of all, where are you now? What are you doing in real estate, and what are your thoughts on this wild and crazy market?
Yeah. So, I'm an agent with Benchmark Realty here in Nashville, and been with them, I guess, 4 years now. And nice. I learned that first couple of years working with the guys at Weichert, I learned how to do the business. And then there was just some opportunity that I saw at Benchmark that made sense to me and my family, so I moved over to there. And I'm very independent. I'm very self-motivated. I'm not a big, like, I need the rah-rah pep rally every Monday meeting kind of thing. Sure. I do value the relationships I have with other real estate agents in the area, but for me, I just didn't want to go to a pep rally every Tuesday, which a lot of
I get
sales
that,
offices
man. I
have
get
them.
that.
And
Nah.
again, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'm not dogging it at all. It's
Right.
great, especially if you're brand new in the business.
Totally.
I was about 2 years into the business when I moved, and I kind of knew what I was doing. So I was like, okay, I don't really need this as much
Right.
anymore.
That's fair.
And I motivate myself because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I
Mhm.
read a lot. I am just a sponge of motivational material. What was the question?
Just benchmark where you're at today, benchmark. And
Yeah,
then,
and the market and all
yeah,
that.
just
So, I mean, I've in a lot of ways, I've been able to ride the wave of the market being really hot over the last couple of years. There's definitely been phone calls over the last few years that just kind of came randomly, and they're not coming as often right now. I am still getting calls. What I learned about probably 5 years ago, I was frustrated because I was in this place in my business where I was doing it as a transactional agent. I was just trying to trying to find the next deal. And what I realized as a real estate agent, like you're in the unique position of being the person who does not have a job every day and you're trying to find one. You know what I mean? So
That's it.
imagine if you didn't have a job and every day you were out looking for job interviews.
that's such a good way to put it. It's
That's
so
what we
true.
do as real
Yep.
estate agents,
That's
right?
so true.
The second that you close on a sale and you get
You're
paid,
unemployed.
you are unemployed again. It's time to get back on the street. So if you don't have a pipeline of business coming, I mean, there's a problem. You're not going
Exactly.
to be able to keep making the money. And so that was something that took a little while for me to actually realize, I was excited, rah, sold a house, made a big paycheck, and then I had
Now
no
what?
job.
Right.
You know? So I saw something, ran across this random video. It was a guy named Brian Buffini. He's a pretty big, well-known real estate coaching training guy. He's an Irishman, and it was
I
funny.
was about to say that's a cool name.
Yeah,
Brian
yeah.
Buffini.
And he's actually going to be here in Nashville this
Really?
week. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm going. There's a conference they're doing in
Nice.
Nashville. And
Do you know him?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. But I feel like I do after
Yeah,
all the stuff
sure.
I've listened. He's got a radio podcast, all that kind of stuff. And but he talked about working by referral, about building your business in a way that's working by referral, and his frustration as a new immigrant coming to the United States, trying to do business the way a lot of folks were teaching him, which was cold calling and knocking on doors and calling people that were for sale by owners who didn't want a realtor, that kind of
Those
stuff.
calls are
And
so fun,
trying
aren't
to
they?
convince
Yeah.
people who are already convinced in their own mind they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
They're already mad at you before you ever even pick
man.
up the phone.
Yep.
So I did a lot of that stuff to start out, and I got some business that way. It's not that it doesn't work.
Right.
But then I realized, I looked back over the first 2 years of my business and I realized like 90% of the business I was getting was coming from people I already knew. So my people either knew me or they would refer their friends to me. And so, but all of my methods, probably 80 or 90% of my methods were cold, door knocking, trying
the not fun
to get
stuff.
out there and do
Yeah.
stuff. And so there was like a switch that happened for me, and I started to take the money that I was spending on impersonal means to try to get personal business, and I started spending that money on my friends, on my
Nice.
people. So I would just go buy donuts for them and take them to their offices, or I'd start handwriting notes and
Yep.
just letting them know I love them and I appreciate you and thank you for your friendship and hey, it was great seeing you the other day, and how's your wife, and how's your kids, and
Love it.
that kind of stuff, and having phone calls and those kind of, like, actually being a person who friends people, Yeah.
That's so good.
So like I started to do that, and I realized that when you focus on really building relationships with people and going deep with a few, that your business becomes almost recession proof.
Wow.
Right?
Love that.
Because when you have enough friends that are continually thinking of you because you are giving constantly to them, then it's not awkward for you to ask them for referrals.
Right.
Like, if you're only asking for referrals from people all the time, then it's awkward.
Right.
Because you're the guy. You're that guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be that guy or that girl.
100%.
But if you're constantly giving, I try to give 5 times more than what I asked. So like if I'm contacting you, it's to see how you're doing and how can I lift you up and your business up on my shoulders and tell other people about you, and anything I can do to be and how can I give you interesting information. So like
Right.
with the market, where you asked me about the market, like being able to be a voice of if I don't know something, hey, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Right.
But also being able to say, here's what's going on in the market. Here's what you need to be doing. Here's some things you need to be thinking about if you're thinking about listing your home or buying a house or getting into real estate, or, the market does this.
Yep.
And so being able to have a consistent flow of business all the way across through relationships that you're building, that made a lot of sense to me.
Yes.
And, but it wasn't until I hit like the 5-year mark of the business of just beating the bushes, building those relationships, going deep with those people, that I started to get enough phone calls that I wasn't worried about whether or not we were going to eat next month.
Man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
And so over time, that database of people has just grown. And so like I can, again, I still try to stay in contact with all those folks. So again, the market to me is kind of an immaterial thing. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. The news is always going to blow things way out of proportion. They're going to scare the crap out of everybody. A bunch of y'all are going to leave the real estate business because you got scared by something that, some talking head said, and that's fine. That leaves it room for those of us that are skilled professionals to actually do our job.
Right.
And to understand that this is a business that we're running. This isn't just a part-time kind of gig.
Right.
You can do it part-time, but, I think that you might be doing people a disservice if you're not experienced enough in your business to be able to negotiate well for them and to help them get what they really want and need. And so I would say that's just something for people to do some self-examination over, so that they can, just be able to provide something really quality for the people that need it out there. So, but that's really where
I like
that
that answer
came
though.
from.
I mean, honest, that's how you make your business, like you said, recession proof. So
yeah.
And that's what led to FriendMaker. So let's get into it, man.
So
let's get into it.
So the pandemic happened.
Yep.
And
I was there. That was rough. Yeah.
I was there too.
It was not fun, was it?
No,
it was just really
it wasn't
weird.
a place I wanted to be anymore. Anyway,
I remember that.
I'm so glad that's over. It's so funny, man. Like, this is not even having to do with FriendMaker, but we had some friends and we went on a cruise on March the 15th, 2020.
Wow.
And like, we were going to Mobile, Alabama, and like all of our parents were calling us and they're like, "You're going to get stuck on a boat out in the middle of nowhere." And we're like, "We've been planning this trip for 6 months.
We're going.
We're like, our kids are with you. You're fine. We're going, come hell or high water."
Yeah.
So we got on that boat and then the next day we're on the ocean going on our way to Mexico. Man. And the no sail order comes down from Trump.
Wow.
On our way. And they kept going. So like we ended up going to Progreso, Mexico instead of Cozumel because of something happened. I don't know, COVID, I guess. And then came back and we got off the boat and we were fine. There was no toilet paper anywhere in America. So like we stopped at every Walmart between Mobile and Nashville, and then there were no toilet paper rolls anywhere. That was when the mad rush happened.
That's wild.
I don't know why I told you that story.
I mean, that's details. But yeah.
So during the pandemic,
Yeah.
My wife and I went on vacation down to Fort Walton Beach.
Okay.
And got a steal, right? Because, I mean, nobody was renting places for the beach because everybody was scared. Everybody stayed home. But my wife, she had like a photography conference that she's going to go to down there in Destin. And I was like, I had this idea for a book and I wanted to just go ahead and, while she's doing the conference, I'll just take 3 days and just hash it out and start trying to figure this out. So I had this idea. I wanted to write a book that was like a parable, kind of in the same vein as like those Ken Blanchard books. And, The Go-Giver by Bob Berg.
Love it.
7 Levels of Communication by Michael Maher, and a lot of these different people. They use story to try to illustrate, the points or the principles that they're trying to put out there. And I wanted something that had a framework that you could actually visualize. And so I had this idea of these spheres, these 7 spheres.
Hold it.
And
show the
right
people.
here. Show the people right here.
That's up. This one.
See if you can see it. Oh, you're
Oh,
here.
actually, that one. Sorry.
This one.
Give me this.
3. I'm just going to give that to you.
There it is.
And there you go.
You'll see that.
So anyway, my wife and I started talking. And I was just like, listen, what is it that I do in my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm working with my clients, what is the process of building the relationship with my clients? What does that look like?
Right.
And so we started just kind of hollering out these words, and they all started with the letter L. And we got them, they all came in, this was really crazy. They all came in this order to us. Like we wrote them down as we said them. So listen, learn, like, loyal, leap, lead, love. And so like this was the process, right? And it took me some time to develop a lot of this stuff over the last couple of years, because I didn't realize at the time what I had other than just a bunch of words that all started with L, you know.
Hey, but
and
you're onto something.
but yeah,
it's like
that's right.
Yeah,
and so like, but I realized, like, when I work with a client, I first meet them, the best thing to do just to begin is not to throw up on them information about real estate. It's to stop and to listen to them. Tell me your story. You know, let me, I want to listen to you. I want to learn who you are. I want to, as you listen to and learn people, you kind of start to find yourself liking them or not, right? Sometimes you don't.
Totally.
But it was interesting. Each word carried with it an attitude that was underneath that, like, so listening, the core attitude underneath the idea of listening to your clients is attentiveness. You want to communicate that you're being attentive to them. The core attitude underneath learning is understanding. Though I want to know what makes you tick, right? The core attitude under liking somebody, it's not like people pleasing kind of liking, but it's just respect.
Right.
Like, people want to know that you respect who they are.
So attentive, understanding.
Attentiveness, understanding, respect.
Yep.
Loyalty. Be loyal to your clients. Being loyal to your clients is being an advocate for them, fighting for them.
Yep.
You know, leaping for them is the next one, and that's the risk. Risk is having hard conversations with people. I've learned how to have this conversation with folks when I have a buyer's consult, and I tell them, this is the moment in our conversation where I run the risk of losing you as a client, because I'm about to tell you something you probably don't want to hear. And so then I'll tell them some of the hard things that they need to hear that they may not want to hear about the process or about looking for homes or all that kind of stuff. And I lay that stuff out, and I have that honest, truthful conversation with them.
It's huge.
And again, you know,
do you literally say that? Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool.
I just say
respect that.
Yeah, just like, hey, you know what? We might
this is
part
the
ways
part.
over this.
This is the part
like,
that
one
gets
of the biggest
alert,
things where I'm really going with that is, like, so one of the biggest things, a lot of buyers want you as a realtor to take them all over creation and look at houses, right? But the thing is that we're not in the tour of homes business, right? We're not. I mean, we're business people, so if we're going to spend time doing something like that, there needs to be a good reason, and you need to have a qualified buyer. So, like, if they don't have a pre-approval letter yet and they want you to go look at like 13 houses tomorrow, then no. Just the answer to that question is no.
100%.
Now, are they going to find a realtor who would do that for them? Maybe, you know. And I always tell folks, listen, I mean, the first time we go out, let's go look. I know you're not going to know what you want. I need to get to know you. So that's fine. I don't mind going out and hanging out with you guys for a couple hours. Even if we're not going to buy a house, let's just start getting a feel for things. But if we're on the second or third showing day of looking at stuff and they just want to go look at a lot of houses, they don't have a pre-approval yet and they don't have parameters laid out, they don't know what they're looking for, it's going to get really frustrating for all of us really fast. But if I have that conversation with them on the front end and say the truth to them on the front end and don't worry about the risk that, I mean, understand, I may lose you over this.
Right.
But I'd rather spend time with somebody who's going to actually trust me to help walk them through this process than somebody who's just going to string me along and I'm never going to get paid. If Chris Garrett told me this when I first got in the business. He's like, if I wanted to go spend an entire day doing something and not getting paid, I just go home and hang out with my family. You know? Yeah,
100%.
So leaping was risk. Leading was the attitude of service, serving people powerfully. And then finally, loving people is caring about them long after the sale.
Love that, man.
Actually having some kind of a plan for how are you going to continue to communicate with this person that you just made friends with over the last 30 days and not communicate to them that you just wanted them for the money that you made off of them for the last 30 days. How do you actually connect with people in such a way that you endear yourself to them and they want to continue to do business with you?
Wow.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
So if you can create a business that actually creates in the minds of your customers a feeling of trust and authentic relationship and friendship with them, they'll go to bat for you.
Yeah.
You know, they'll tell all their friends and their family. I think Walt Disney said something about, like, create something so amazing that they'll tell everybody else about it. Right.
That's it.
And so, like, that's what the FriendMaker concept is all about. And,
that's so cool.
So I wrote this book, and it's a story about a guy who struggles, and he meets a guy who runs this workshop called the FriendMaker Workshop.
Love it.
And he learns the 7 spheres of a FriendMaker, and he learns how to build his business on friendship. And at the end of the book, I've got like some lead ideas and things that you can do, and I also have like workshop advertisements and stuff. And I'm finding that people are resonating with it and asking me to come out and speak and share. So
That's awesome.
I got this approved through the Tennessee Real Estate Commission as a
Yeah,
2C
I saw that.
hour
Yeah.
course. So I'm going to be like this Wednesday, I'm going to Carrie Ann Sears' office
Nice.
at CMG, and I'm going to be sharing over there on Wednesday.
Shouts to Carrie Ann.
And I mean, she sells those things out every single month, you know.
Monster.
So
She is
yeah,
a monster.
yeah. I think
The
she's
best
here
way
locally now too, in Murfreesboro
Yeah,
somewhere.
mhm.
So, but that's it. That's what the FriendMaker is all about. And
That's super
Yeah.
cool. I love
Yeah.
the whole thing. It's very, very much all things STP, you know, and
Yeah.
just being nice to people, being accepting,
Mm-hmm.
doing things the right way, taking care of your people, serving, leading. I mean, it's really cool. It's a
Yeah.
really cool concept, and I didn't know. It's actually like a story. Like someone's living this out.
yeah,
It's the struggle, it's the grind, and
Mhm.
then he meets a friend maker with the workshop.
Yeah.
And he like literally does the work to become
Yeah.
a friend maker.
yeah,
Now he's out here
yep.
thriving, doing his thing with
Yeah.
his friend maker
That's
business.
exactly right.
I love that, man.
Yeah,
So obviously you got the book. I mean, we were talking off mic. A lot of this stuff's trademarked. You got these workshops you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the big picture goal with it all?
Yeah,
Talk to us. Like, where do you see this going?
man, I would love the opportunity to get this out to as many people in this business as possible.
Love it.
You know, it's not something that I see, you know, containing here in Tennessee.
No.
I think it's great that we're in Tennessee and that this is where something like this could be
Burst.
birthed.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
Tennessee, I mean, like, was it Nashville was voted like the friendliest city or
Yeah.
whatever a few years ago, and I mean, it makes
perfectly
sense,
on brand,
you know?
right?
It's right on brand, and so like
FriendMaker,
and it, I mean,
friendliest
it
city.
truly is. Like
Yeah.
when I first started the business, I Uber drove
Yep.
while I was trying to get some business. So like that was an experience. But
Did you get business?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you know, it was
from
great.
folks, Uber?
I got
Or-
a lot of conversations.
Yes,
I don't know
okay.
if I actually got any business from
Yeah.
Uber driving, but what it did for me in the Nashville area was it familiarized me with the city.
Right.
Because I live down here in Murfreesboro, and I didn't
Distant
have
land of Murfreesboro.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right, 30 miles away. And but it did give me a framework
Yeah.
for when I started talking to people about Nashville. I knew where 12 South was
Yeah,
and
sure.
Germantown, and you know all these different areas. So. But Uber, that was really good. But yeah, Nashville is just the place that people love to come to. I mean, Tennessee is like one of the hottest cities, states for people to move to right now. And they love the Southern hospitality they get here. And so this is a way and a way to maybe take some of that Southern hospitality, that Tennessee goodness, and just spread it all over the country.
Love
you
it,
know,
man.
I think if people could see that it's possible,
Yeah.
that they could actually become friends with their clients.
Right. I mean,
You know,
it's not
and-
a foreign concept.
It's not, you know, I put a little disclaimer at the beginning of the book about not mixing business and friendship, right? Like that's just kind of a thing you shouldn't do, right? But I'm trying to take that taboo and kind of flip it on its head and be like, well, I get that. I understand. Like, you know, if you're not good if you suck at your job and you make friends all the time, you're probably not going to have friends in business for long, you
Right.
know? Because if your brother or your sister wants you to sell their house for them, and you don't have the skills to actually make that happen, then Thanksgiving dinner is going to be an awkward conversation.
Very much so.
You know what I
Very
mean?
much so.
So we've got to be competent professionals, and we need to be trustworthy and trusting and authentic people. And if there's trust and authenticity and character and integrity with our clients, then I think you can be friends with them because you're being honest with them. You're not taking advantage of them.
Right.
And again, it does have to go both ways. There's a little spot in there. I used an old Steve Harvey quote from a few years ago where he says, loyalty has an expiration date, right?
Ooh.
And the truth is that you might be the most loyal person there is. I pushed back against that when I first heard that. I was like, no, I'm loyal. I'm always loyal.
I'm letting that sink in for a second.
But
Yeah.
loyalty has an expiration date in that if you may be the most loyal person that there is, but if the other person doesn't reciprocate that loyalty, from a business standpoint, it's really hard for that relationship business-wise to carry on. You can still be loyal to a fault with people and still love them well and hang out and be in their lives. But, you know, at the end of the day, if they're just for whatever reason not going to be loyal to you, then, you know, you're kind of released from that and you need to go find somebody who'll be loyal to you, you
fair.
know?
Yep.
And it's okay to just kind of, you know, to let
Cut
that
ties,
go.
yeah.
Sometimes you have to do that, you
That's
know?
real.
But again, and it can be tricky, right? Because
100%.
I'm all about making friends with people and trying to stay in community. But there's just certain people that over the years, I've only had 2 or 3 that
Got chunk the deuce.
it just didn't work. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
100%.
anyway,
But I love that approach, and I'm all about flipping some old ways of thinking on its head as well. And you're right. I mean, it's not respectfully, it's not reinventing the wheel by any means, but it's just putting that different spin on it in a way that's pretty much I mean, if you do it right, it's gonna work. Yeah. And it's
I mean, this isn't new stuff.
I know there's some proven truths behind this as well. So it's like I mean, there's some cliches or taboos, if you will, but there's also just a lot of proven success.
Let me tell you, the biggest taboo is sitting on the front of my book.
Dude, I wasn't even gonna go there.
Yeah, I want you to go there. No, I'm all about bringing the elephant out in the room. Okay,
what is the pineapple? We gotta. I know there's some. You talk about taboos.
I wish I had brought an actual pineapple with me today, because that would have been so much fun.
We should have done that.
I try to do that every time I go speak.
You got it
because I got a room full of people and they see the pineapple and they're like, "FriendMaker, come on, what's this all about?"
Oh man.
So for some of you whose mind's not in the gutter and you don't know this kind of stuff,
right?
Evidently, the pineapple has been hijacked by the swinger movement over the last few years, and I do believe it is an upside down pineapple is kind of the symbol. But now everybody's like, you can't put. I have some very good friends; they've all written little nice things about me in the front of this book, and I asked all of them when I started this thing and I threw this symbol out there. I was like, "What do you guys think?" And they were like, "You cannot put a pineapple on the front of this book," and they're like,
hey, those are some good friends,
people,
honestly.
Yeah, my friend Jacob,
FriendMaker.
he was exactly. He's like, oh yeah, the FriendMaker. Yeah, I get you. He's like, people are not. That's not good.
I love it.
So I thought, man, I'm going to start a website called Reclaim the Pineapple.
Wow,
right? I want the pineapple
hilarious.
back. I don't want the swingers to take it and hijack it.
That's hilarious.
Because the truth is the pineapple actually has like a 500-year history in our country of being a symbol of hospitality and friendship.
Okay.
Pineapple was discovered right after Columbus.
Dude, I love pineapple.
Yeah,
it's my favorite fruit.
It's the best
actually,
fruit.
Yeah.
And but it was discovered in 1493, right after
Columbus.
Yeah, they actually took these things. Yeah,
Wikipedia.
No, there's a history, man. It's so
I love it.
So like the pineapple, it got so popular in Europe and it would like crown the feasts of like kings and royalty and stuff.
Right. Okay.
They would go for as much as $8,000 a piece. Yeah, for a freaking pineapple,
Man, excuse me.
So anyway, eventually,
$8,000 for a pineapple. Just trying to wrap my head around
can you
that
imagine
too.
that?
Back in the day like that?
Yeah, because it was so rare, right? Like
really?
now you can get them like 10 for $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
But
that's so.
But then what happened was over time, it actually started to become this symbol of hospitality. So like when you'd have a guest over or a dinner or something like that, or a party, they'd take a pineapple and they would impale it on the iron posts outside of the front, like those old colonial houses you think of in New England or down in the Caribbean, that kind of thing. And so it was a symbol of welcome. Sometimes it would be on the top of the feast, like it would be the crowning piece on the feast.
That's cool.
Eventually, it became something that they would carve into the lintels and the doorposts. And eventually the hotel industry actually adopted it. You've probably been in hotels where you see the flag waving with a big pineapple on the flag. The place the bed and breakfast my wife stayed on the first night of when we got married 26 years ago was called the Brass Pineapple. That was the place
really?
Wow. And it had flying, flying flag and stuff. But that was the thing is it just was this symbol of friendship and hospitality and welcome. And so like that, I was just like, I can't think of a better symbol. Plus, I had my little circles, and I'm like, so my daughter drew the little pineapple.
I think it's that one.
Yeah, is it this
there
one?
It is.
There
that's it.
My daughter drew that little thing on there. She's a great artist.
That's really
she's
cool.
Gonna
I love
start
that.
designing
It's really
some
cool.
stuff
So
me.
it's the 7 circles, right?
Yep. Seven spheres of a FriendMaker.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
I love that. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, man. So that's the pineapple.
The pineapple.
So reclaim the pineapple. It is not a symbol of swinger.
Sign up for our newsletter. We're here to take it back, man. We're just trying, dude. That's so good. Hey, but you're right. That's such a. another talking point,
Yeah.
obviously. I mean, kind of an elephant in the room if you're not familiar, or if you are, I guess. But
It actually makes my presentations
I
a little
bet.
more fun.
I bet.
I did the first one a few weeks ago at one of the benchmark offices, and I threw it out there, and I was like, "Hey guys, what do y'all think of the pineapple?" And like right out the gate, somebody was like, "Swingers!" I was thinking maybe tropical or sweet or Hawaii. Like they went straight for the right straight for it. But
hey, reclaim the pineapple.
That's it, man.
Man, that's a movement in itself. Okay, we might have to prioritize these like FriendMaker's top priority.
Let's reclaim the pineapple.
But right under that, we got to reclaim this pineapple, man. That's awesome, man. Well, I'm pumped for you, dude. I think it's such a cool thing. I've been, seeing your stuff on socials and just really pumped for the whole thing and putting yourself out there and just all of it, man. Congratulations. I think it's clearly something that's needed, and people can, there's just a lot of room for us to get better at these 7 spheres, like that's, if you really think about it, what are we doing here if we're not working on those 7 spheres?
Well, it's funny. I used the word sphere. I thought about circles, and it kind of is circles on the front of the cover of the book, but
I love
spheres have a little more depth to them.
Oh, yeah.
You think of a sphere, you live inside of a sphere, right? Like your sphere of influence, that's a group of people, your warm market or whatever, but you live in a sphere. Yeah. So when you dwell in the spheres of a friend, when you dwell in that space where you are listening to somebody, that's more than just a skill that you've learned. That's a part of who you are. It's a being thing. It's not just a doing thing, right? And so, and that was the challenge, and is the challenge in sharing this message is. It's really hard. It's easy to give people the 4 happy hops to becoming a better person, right? Sure. Or whatever. Sure. It's hard to teach people how to become the kind of person that other people really want to work with.
That's real.
That's an identity piece. That's a character thing. And that's more than just nuts and bolts of how to make phone calls or how to write, track your progress or any of that kind of stuff. This goes deeper to who you are as a person. And so I think genuine, most of the people I have met are really, really good people, right? Like I would say the vast majority of people I meet are very good people. And so this kind of gives good people a little bit of a framework of a simple, here's how to become the kind of person that people will trust. And I think that's really helpful. I think that there's still skills, right? Like we still need to learn how to listen to people and how to learn to and like them. Those are skills that we develop over time, but there's so much more than just skills. Yes. And so that's why I chose the spheres, because it's just a little bit more depth and more, I don't know, just makes more sense.
I love that. I love that a lot, man. That is, that's what it's all about. Just this journey of self-discovery, and you're really trying to learn and lead and do all the and love, all the things, all the L's, man. That's really
man.
It's really inspiring. It's something I love that. I love that a lot. I got a couple of we're gonna steer off the path of This Week in Real Estate just for a second, and I wanted to tap into a couple of the go-to spread the positive questions, just because it's very in line with all this stuff. So I always ask I guess just your go-to ways to switch up a bad headspace, for lack of a better word. Or, when it's spread the positive, but we recognize there's quite a few things that will get you down and out. And just being able to step back and re-examine your headspace. Like, what are some of your go-to ways to switch up a bad mindset?
So, for me, I am somebody told me this a long time ago. I'm an emotional visionary. Ooh. Right. I'd never heard that phrase before. I don't know if anybody's heard that phrase before. It was just like one conversation I had with somebody. I was like, is that a good thing?
Yeah. I would say yes.
And I was like, cause I know like emotions do this. Right. And visionary is like that.
Right.
And so like, I don't know what kind of a visionary.
What emotions?
What emotion am I experiencing while I'm having that vision?
I like that though.
So, but I will tell you is that something else I heard years ago is a preacher down in Texas named Matt Chandler. He talked about the importance of figure out what stirs your heart, right? So, and that's different for everybody. So whatever that looks like for you, do that. So like for me, what that looks like is, so if I'm in a bad headspace, I listen to inspirational music. I read.
Can I ask a couple of go-to
Yeah.
artists?
Yeah.
Go-to artists, a couple.
Like right now, man, like I've really been digging on Brandon Lake. He's a worship guy. He won
Nice.
like a Grammy this year.
Awesome.
And so that's been really cool. Maverick City Music, that kind of group of worship and stuff. I really have found that to be encouraging. I mean, NF, I don't know if you like NF and all, but like he's my workout music.
Kid's
and
crazy.
And so, you know, I it's funny because my kids, they love like Kendrick Lamar and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's some talent and stuff, amazing stuff out there. But for me, like my mental headspace has to be filled with positive messages.
Love that.
And so if the music that I'm listening to is just about doing things that are not good for me,
Sure.
like that's not a good headspace for me.
Love that.
And so like art for me has to be uplifting. Yeah, it has to be encouraging. Movies, man, like I love like the Lord of the Rings, epic movies, man, like Braveheart, Gladiator.
Okay.
Those are my go-to movies. Like if I'm feeling a place where I just need to kind of get, you know, back into the passion space, you know, I'll watch Braveheart, or I'll listen to the soundtrack to Braveheart.
Okay.
That was the soundtrack that was playing quite a bit while I was writing this book.
I love
actually.
that.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
And so like that kind of stuff for me, things that move my heart, that get me kind of going. That's what I try to do. You know, It's a Good Life with Buffini. The John Gordon has a podcast, Positive University.
Love John Gordon.
There's a guy named Erwin McManus. He's a pastor out in California, who's really created some pretty cool content out there that a lot of folks like. I love his stuff. I've been listening to him for probably 15 years.
Wow.
And so just, I mean, anything that I can get my hands on. Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the basic, go back, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, those guys.
Absolutely.
There's some great positive stuff there, you know? And so that's where my mind has to go in order to get out of that headspace.
So you're having a bad day, things piling up one after the other. You just like get to where you can zone in on some, like just put some headphones in.
I need something that's going to move my heart and get my head out of that space.
I feel you.
That's it, man.
I feel you. One of mine is Jimmy V. You know, with the March Madness going on, I always got to give him his flowers this time of year. Man, those three things, man. If you spend time in thought, laugh, and be moved to tears, it's a full day. That's a full day, man. Every time he says that, it makes me just like, I want to run through a wall.
That's so good, man. I love that.
Yeah. Shouts to Jimmy V.
Yeah.
Wolfpack in the house. That's my alma mater. But yeah, man, I love this. Okay. That's one of the signature ones. Other one, what's going right? What's going right in the world according to Art Kelly?
What's going right in the world?
Get enough of what's not working.
Let me tell you what's going on right. What's going right now.
We
are starting to see the creative, the pent up creativity that the pandemic tried to steal from all of us.
Let's go.
So like you're starting to see, you know, musicians and movie stars and, you know, the things that our culture esteems as the arts, right? Mm-hmm. You're starting to see that stuff, you know, really start to take off. It's like there's this pent up demand for creativity that we were not able to have. Like I remember that year. I mean, that wild. 2 years or whatever, there was no good movie. The Oscars were horrible. Like, there's like no good movies that were on the Oscars at all. It was like some documentary won Best Picture or something, you know? And so like, I don't think that's true, but anyway. We'll let that go.
We'll let the audience fact check that.
But I mean, I think we're in this space, right? I mean, this book came out of that for me. You know, there's a lot of people that were underneath the surface, out of the spotlight, out of the limelight, and they used that time to create. Yeah. And we're starting to see the fruits of what that creativity did.
Love that.
I think we're also starting to see that people really do long for personal connections more.
Yep.
That's part, again, kind of goes back to my book, but like there's this thing in business that we just want to do business in an impersonal way. And yet, we also all really desire to have personal relationships with people. Man. And so we, for whatever reason, have distanced ourselves in our business relationships from our clients because, we got to keep it professional. Just because it's professional doesn't mean that you can't still be personal. You know, that phrase, it's personal. It's not personal, it's business.
Sure.
Right? Like we've heard that before. No, all business is
okay,
personal.
Okay. I was about to say that's
Yeah.
one of my. I just don't like that phrase.
No,
I
not at
think
all. It's
like, what do you
horrible.
mean it's not like?
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
always
that's
personal.
just sure. There's some truth on both sides, but I think that's one
I
of my
think,
pet peeves.
I think what we're seeing, to answer your
Yeah.
question, I think that what we're seeing right now, people are tired of BS. They're tired of being treated like just pawns on a board.
Yep.
People really do want to be valued as individuals, and people want to be seen. This is a conversation my wife and I have a lot, and have had over the last several years. It's, I was raised like all of us were. I mean, a lot of us were raised in a good home, parents that cared and that kind of stuff. But it's easy to become functional in all of our relationships with people, and especially with those that are closest to us, like our wives and our kids, and for them to not ever feel like we see them. And that Avatar movie came out this last. I don't know if you saw that.
I
or
haven't
not,
seen
but
it. I don't know how I did.
I
I was so excited about it and just didn't go. I was
one
like,
of the
I wanna
one of
do
the
IMAX
phrases.
and the
Yeah,
whole
it's
thing.
so good, man. We
Did you
watched
see
it?
it?
We saw it like 2 or 3 times, man. Like,
Really?
Oh yeah, it was that
It's
good.
that good. I gotta go.
But there's a phrase in that movie series between the father and the kids and the family, and he says, "I see you." He tells his wife that. He tells that to his kids, and it's like
Powerful.
people want to be seen. They
Yep.
don't want to just be, acknowledged
Yeah.
or whatever. They really want you to go deep, or to risk being vulnerable and letting them be vulnerable and just caring.
That's so true.
I think if we could do more of that kind of stuff in this world, I think this world would be a better place.
That's what's going right.
And I think that is happening.
I do
I think
too.
I'm seeing a lot of people that are really stepping out of the dark and out of the pandemic, darkness, going, how can I create some good in this world? That's so good. I think it's so powerful.
That's what keeps me up, and what what keeps me up, and what wakes me up. Anyway,
Well,
yes, same
Yeah.
thing. That's awesome, man. Speaking of movies, have you seen Jesus Revolution?
I've not. We were going to go see that
Bro.
last weekend, but it looked like it'd be really good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I feel like you will really, really dig it.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
It's so good. I want to go see it again. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that's, I think there's a version of what happened back when the movie was, set in or whatever,
Yeah.
like the hippie movement and all
Yeah.
that. I think you're right. It's like I don't know. I hate to say the word awakening, but kind of like an awakening and a consciousness and and just recognizing that, kind of what you said, maybe we've been duped a little, and like a lot of this stuff that quote unquote divides us and creates all this division and makes business harder than it needs to be and all this other stuff. I really think, like you said, we're dropping that, and it's like getting easier to see through the noise and just recognize, hey, we're all trying to do this thing called life. You need to make a living. I need to make a living. But we're here. Like, let's be cordial. Let's be friendly. Let's, make it fun. Like, this stuff doesn't always have to be a struggle.
Well, and I think, I can tell you and I have kind of a Christian background, right? So like this is not Christian stuff. This is human stuff.
Exactly.
Right? This is stuff that has to do with people being human beings. Like,
exactly.
You don't have to be a Christian to see the power of being affirmative with people and loving them, and gosh, I probably just lit a political firestorm to say that, but I don't mean it that way. I just mean by lifting people up, by awakening the spirits of people inside of them. That is so important.
Yes.
Because there is this thing as you get older that like you just kind of get set in your ways, and life kind of just becomes this doldrum thing, and you just do it, and you got to do it just to get through. Kids, we complain about our kids being teenagers, and we love our kids, like we have a really great relationship with all of our children. Somebody,
producer Tom in the building.
And and like people want to be negative for whatever reason. It's easy to default to negative, right? But it takes some effort to actually see the good in things and people and life, and but like it is worth it. Yeah, if we'll just do that and be those people,
That's it, man.
So anyway,
that's it. You're Good egg, man. I'm
Are you
always,
talking about my bald head?
no,
Is that what
man.
you're-
Hey, it takes one to know one in that
That's
regard.
right.
But no, man, I really appreciate you, Art.
Yeah,
It's
man.
been fun watching your journey with FriendMaker. Where can people find it? Plug away.
Yeah.
Plug away, and we'll wrap this up.
Right now, I have a website. It's called it's artkelly.org.
Okay.
www.artkelly.org. And you can find a lot of all that stuff about me. At the very top of that page, there's a link to Amazon.
Okay.
Or you can just go straight to Amazon.
Yep.
You can order it right now.
Yep.
I'm going to be speaking at various events in Middle Tennessee over the next several months.
Nice.
So I'll be bringing physical copies of my book that you can buy. But the easiest, fastest way to get it right now is through Amazon.
And title one more time.
It's called The 7 Spheres of a Friendmaker.
I love it.
Right,
a little
right
higher.
there.
A little higher. There it is. Oh, that's
7
beautiful.
Spheres of a
Look at that.
Friendmaker. How to build your business on friendship.
Love it.
And the whole book, like it's funny, the front and the back of the book, I had probably 15, 16 of my friends
That's awesome.
write little things about this.
Right.
Because I want
Proof of concept, right?
Yeah, like I wanted
It's
to. Yeah,
yeah, it's proof of concept.
I wanted to have street cred, right?
Yeah,
like I actually
100%.
have friends, and they all think
I've
this is
made
a good thing, you know.
That's
So,
perfect. I've done it, y'all. I've made friends now, but
But yeah, man. So like that's something on that website. You can book me for a workshop.
Love it.
If you're a mortgage broker or you're somebody out there that's looking for a speaker for whatever kind of real estate or business. I mean, this
Yeah.
is not just a real estate book. It is
1000%.
it's a business book. So it's not just for people in real estate. So I'm looking for ways to be able to get the message out. Would love to do some keynote speaking and stuff like that.
Solid. You got a pod too, right?
I've
There's
got a
pod.
podcast
Yep.
that I started when I launched it. I have about 8 episodes.
Nice.
I've got to kind of at some point hop back on that train and start really doing some FriendMaker stuff with it. But you know, I wanted to get an initial message of it out
Sure.
there when the book came out. So but that's it, man. That's what I'm doing.
I love it. Well, y'all be sure to check him out, artkelly.org. That's ARTKELLY
That's it.
.org. So appreciate your time, man. Appreciate you jumping in on a short notice, like I said earlier.
Yeah,
and it's always a pleasure to catch up. Pump for you, pump for FriendMaker. I see the vision, see the potential. Definitely pulling for you. Anything we can do over here at STP and the J Harmon Home Team. We are in your corner and want to be part of the movement. So go support our guy over here. He's doing some amazing things. I didn't shout out Bryan Nale at the beginning of this episode. I will put it in there you go. That's my guy. That's my guy Tom over there. With the notes over there. But shout out to Bryan Nale with Primis Mortgage. He is a big supporter of all things STP and a heck of a mortgage lender. We were, having a conversation this past week, and just his attention to detail and how he really thinks outside the box and all the things that Brian does is
that Brian Johnson?
Bryan Nale. Well,
Brian
yeah,
Nale?
yeah, they're right there together.
I know Brian Johnson over
Yeah,
there as well.
Brian Johnson right there beside him. All the Bryans, man. But shouts to the whole team over at Primis. Thank you for your continued support. And as always, J Harmon Home Team here to help with real estate stuff. Art's here to help with real estate stuff. We're all here to help. But just trying to be friends too. So anyway, FriendMaker, all the things, man. I appreciate your time, Art, and we will jump off.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.